Welcome to the Top 10 Gardener with Master Gardener Ken Lane. Gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and top 10 advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now welcome your garden host, Ken Lane.
And welcome to this week's edition of The Mountain Your Gardener. Your host, Ken Lane, here every week talking about the landscapes of northern Arizona. And the weather's been spectacular. It's why we live in northern Arizona. It's just cool, but it's 4 seasons, but it's just nice. So you can get out almost at least several days a week. You can get out all year long. And so it's just beautiful. My gardens have been in a cleanup mode. And so I'm trying to reset or get things back in order. So I'm cleaning up all the dead leaves, broken branches, just kind of getting things. And I've got a long season to do this. I've got a lot of plants kind of touch and kind of get them growing better next spring. So you're setting the stage now for next spring's growth. And things are budding up quite nicely. And so I start with the leaves. The leaves have dropped. Most of the leaves have dropped at my house. And so I don't want those leaves sitting there on top of the gardens or on top of the lawns or out. Just, I want to rake that stuff up. What happens is bugs hide underneath those leaves and they come back at you next spring. Well, I don't want that. I want the soil exposed. I want them freezing to death. I want them out of there. And so it just is healthier for the plants. So I'll rake those up. I compost them. I put them in the compost pile, but I don't leave them on the gardens where it just causes some issues. So I've raked those things up. Then I'll start with just cleaning things up. I look for dead wood. Dead. Anything dead in your gardens is bad. And you just don't want that. So you don't want dead leaves. You don't want dead twigs. You don't want broken branches. It just attracts more decay and death and stuff. So get rid of that stuff. So as I rake things up, it's opening up the bottom of those branches so I can kind of see the structure. I can see what's going on. My lilacs. Ooh, I got one that's just way overgrown. Oh my gosh, this is a reset year. So I'm going to reset that thing. It's as lilacs get old. This is probably a 20-year-old guy. They live for decades, but not beautifully. They've got a season where they need to be reset they tend to sucker a lot. So you'll get great big branches coming up from this lilac that's well above head high. It's 8-10 feet tall. It's way too big for the space where it's at. And then they tend to sucker. They have lots of branches coming up from the roots just everywhere, kind of like an aspen on steroids. They just come up everywhere. And so I don't want that. I don't want it to be overgrown. I want it to look shapely and beautiful. And so now normally I'll tell folks don't prune lilacs in the winter because I'll lose some of my flowers next spring. So the buds, I could see the buds. I was trimming them back. I knew I was going to lose some flowers, but this next year, it's almost going to be a rest year for this lilac. Don't focus on blooming. Focus on adding new foliage, vigorous new stems coming up, and then set stage for next year. And so I've all those suckers got cut back. I took out the main heavy, tall stems. I want vibrant, young, supple kind of branches coming up. Those provide the best flowers. And so I'm going to reset them that way. And so, yes, I'll lose some flowers, but I knew that I'm okay with that, but it sure looks good. When I got done, I fertilized like crazy. Actually, I put a 3-inch layer of compost around the roots. That's going to really stimulate things, attracts worms, gets the roots where they kind of go, wow, I don't know what just happened, but it feels good right here. Let's grow. Setting the stage for tremendous growth next March. We're just talking a couple months away and things are going to start taking off. So I'm setting the stage for that. And so I'm pruning things back. Some things, they need to be reset. So I think roses, if you don't reset your roses, they just become mangy, thick, barky, almost woody, and they stop performing very well. A butterfly bush, a Russian sage. Some of these things need to be set back, or they sucker everywhere. They take over, and they lose their vitality by giving a major haircut every 3, 4, 5 years. It invigorates them so they can take all that massive root structure. They take all that energy and they just form brand new branches, better flowers for the following season. So this year is going to be a reset year. If I reset 3 or 4 roses, just cut them right back to just really whacked on them. Some of these roses are 20 plus years old. But normally roses don't bloom that well for that long. But if you really take them back and start over again, they do. And so these roses are probably, I don't know, a foot and a half around. Well, not anymore. Now they're like the trunk is that big, but they've only got 5 or 6, maybe 7 beautiful soft green canes coming up. They are going to bloom like crazy next year. Oh my gosh, you're going to put on 6-7 foot of growth and just be covered in flowers because I reset them. So most plants put their best blooms on vibrant new wood. And so if you can encourage new wood to come up, you'll get better growth. When it was all done, I fertilized everything. So I got my butterfly bush, the lilacs, a couple roses, all set. I insulated the roots with about a 3-inch layer of just organic, rich soil. Put a 3-inch layer of mulch underneath the over the root zones. And then I fertilized. So now food, there's really 2 kinds of landscape foods that are out in your yard that you can use in the yard. There's summer foods and there's winter foods. So, and the plants cannot pick up one or the others. They can't pick up the winter food in summer and summer foods in winter. So your nitrates are more of a summer plant. So ammonium nitrate, that's a summer food. That's if you want to make corn grow like crazy, give them nitrogen, nitrates. Your sulfates, they are going to be more of a winter food. So ammonium sulfate is going to be the opposite of that. When the soil temperatures get cool, the plants can pick that up. And so know which one you're putting on, or you're just wasting energy and money out there in the gardens. So the right food at the right season makes a big difference. That's with chemical foods. Now, organic foods are different. So that those organics, so if you're using bone meal, blood meal, feather meal, all kinds of meals. Those get cottonseed meal, classic for big flowers, fragrance, brighter colors. And so that's going to bring that out. Organic foods break down over a longer period of time, and they break down it's kind of like processed food or all natural food that you're eating. Organics are that way. They're all natural foods. As they break down, the plants can pick it up no matter the season. And so they're not going to be like a synthetic fertilizer, like ammonium nitrates only summer. If you put that on the winter, you might as well just wasted time. Plants aren't going to benefit. Sulfate's the same way. So organic. So I put organic foods. I put 744 all-purpose plant food down. It's cottonseed meal, bird guano, some sulfur, some iron. I just love that. It's going to set the stage for massive flower and leaf bud growth next spring. Then afterwards, here's kind of the insider tip. For my blooming things, I cut back a very large rose and a very large butterfly bush. This thing was way too big. It's going to bloom spectacularly next year. And it's going to bloom better than ever because all that root zone, that root energy is going to be pushing up into the remaining branches that I left intact, the healthy ones. And so the phosphorus, superphosphate, 0,18,0, that is going to be picked up, and that's what forms flowers. If you want more flowers, give it phosphorus, superphosphate right now. I would say by the end of January, give it phosphorus. If you want better forsythia, better lilacs, better spring blooming crab apples and red buds, fruit trees, superphosphate. Put some of that in. It's granular. Just take a handful, sprinkle it on there. I don't work it in. I just kind of put it on top of everything. The snows and the rains that are coming, they're going to help that break down. The plant's going to pick that up and store it. And that's what it's going to use to form next spring's flower growth. You're going to get better apples, bigger rose of Sharon, better butterfly bush, bigger flowers, superphosphate, 0,18,0, all of it. That middle number forms flowers. The 744 all-purpose plant food, that's going to form better roots and more foliage growth. So they work together. You can do this yourself. It's time to start pruning, fertilizing things to get things ready for spring. We'll be right back right after this.
Look, if your wife, mom, or dad wants an ugly sweater for Christmas, Get them a sweater, not some piece of plastic.
But if someone you truly care about loves their garden, a gift card to Waters makes perfect sense.
Next spring, she can pick exactly what she was hoping.
We all know it's not the same as a huge flower basket or fragrant rose, but hey, it's winter. Gardeners understand.
Waters online gift cards are found at top10plants.com or at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. You're listening to Garden Master Ken Lane, owner of Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Join his daily podcast for timely garden advice seasonally right for the gardens. Ken can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center in Prescott or through his website at top10gardener.com. You're listening to Garden Master Ken Lane and the Top 10 Gardener podcast. Welcome to the Top 10 Garden Show.
And we are back with Lisa Waters Lain in the studio. She comes each week with your garden questions. Just what are people talking about during this December holiday transition? If you're not drinking eggnog, what else you doing out in the gardens? So that's kind of, we bring that to you each week. Welcome to the studio, Lisa.
Thank you.
So how have your holidays been so far? Are you done with the parties? I think we are done with the parties. No, we've got two more left.
Two more, yeah. But we're pretty much done. We did a lot of. We went to Yavapai Performance Hall. We did 3 different shows there.
It was good.
All of them were very good, very enjoyable. A few parties. It's been good.
Yeah, we've between the Finley Toyota Center out in Prescott Valley and Yavapai College, the YPAC or Yavapai College Performing Arts Center. Jim and Linda Lee got to put their names in it. They sponsored it. Between those 2 venues, this place is a great town to live in. It's a small town with all of the amenities, all the performing arts, and we have classic, like really good acts here.
Don't forget the Elks too.
Oh, and the Elks. There we go. I mean, just over and over.
Beautiful little performance hall.
That's right.
This area really supports the arts, and it's nice to see.
You know what I find? Because the beauty of retail is you get to talk to everyone. and we have a lot of folks that retire here, and you get to talk to them because now they've got time to garden. So gardening partly is a stage in life thing, and gardening, we call them active retirees. They just retired, they moved here, and they've got energy. And so they come in, you get to hear their stories, and we have a lot of, professional musicians, artists, retire here, and they bring their passions with them. And so we've got jazz, bluegrass, all these over the top actors, theatrics, over the top, and they still like to perform. So they come in and do that, and I think that helps us. And I have heard from folks that book shows. We're in between Phoenix and Vegas, and the shows will perform there. They stop here and then go to Vegas. We're kind of on the route. And so we get top end. Seligman can't do that. Who else? Page really can't do that. Sedona can do that somewhat because it's kind of the same as us. Don't put Sedona down. It's a broadcast right over there. What are you talking about? I apologize. All my Sedona Cottonwood
has some amazing art galleries and
art.
But they don't have a lot of concerts.
Gotcha. They got the festivals. They got the festival stuff.
Okay.
Anyway, folks, come over when you're from that side of the hill, visit, and just tell us how wrong we are.
You put Seligman down. Come on.
They don't have it. That's the place where I want open. I like elk and deer and javelina roaming free in my gardens. And we should get back to garden stuff. Maybe we should do that.
It's more of our forte.
Yeah, let's just kind of do. Yeah. So what do we got? What are some questions people are asking?
First question is from Tony. He bought an Austrian pine to use as a living Christmas tree. And he's been following all the rules. Didn't bring it in too early. He's going to take it out the day after Christmas. Just wants to know, how much time does he have now to plant it?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Does he have to get in the ground right away, or has he got some time?
So Tony, don't feel rushed. So that container that it's been growing in, so we field grow those out in a farm setting like corn. Just we grow them out in the field because they grow faster, get fuller, chubbier when they're in the ground. And then we'll harvest those. We put them in a ball and burlap. So we'll dig a ball, we'll wrap it in burlap, and we put it in a pot a season before we actually bring it down the garden center. So it's already starting to root out. So you're in no rush to, I would say, get it in before next spring's growth. How about that? Is that enough time?
Yeah.
Before the end of March.
Sooner
Get
the
it in
better,
by then.
wouldn't you say?
Sooner the better, because you're not going to make less of a mistake.
Right.
The more ground you have around that root ball, the more fudge factor you have.
Mhm.
When you're just in this bucket, you've got to be spot on with the watering, basically. So you're going to water it once a week in the container. Probably in the ground, you'll water it once every couple of weeks. If you get a good deep soak, kind of really saturate it, you'll be good. So Tony, you're fine. The main thing, when you plant it like you would, like it's spring. So you want a hole that's 3 times the width, same depth. You want to amend it heavily. Evergreens, especially pines, junipers, cypress, like Arizona cypress, they need drainage. They don't like to sit in soggy soil. So you want to amend that soil to get out of there with some composted mulch. We call it premium mulch. Fertilize it with your all-purpose 744 fertilizer. Give it actually a root stimulator. We call it Root and Grow. It's a compost tea. Do all that stuff you would do any time of the year, even in January. Do it the same, and then give it a really deep soak. And then I would recommend for these living Christmas trees that are going out in the yard, after you're done enjoying the holidays, take it outdoors, let it get used to the cold again, because it's warmed up. So you'll want to put it outside under a covered patio, deck, entrance, up against the south side of your house, just someplace where it's tempered, but still cold. Put it there, let it sit there for at least a week. Then feel free to plant it at your leisure at that point, and you'll be successful. I would say too, some of the bigger trees, like we're selling some 6, 5, 6, 7 foot pine and conifers. Those things you really do want to stake, because we're going to see some snow, and if that snow settles on there and it flips over, it'll cause issues. It won't. You'll just have to go set it back upright. Just stake it, and you won't have to set it back upright, because that heavy snow, especially in late February, March, it's super heavy. So the trees want to lay over. So just stake it. So anyway, come in. We've got a handout for that, Tony. We can help you out.
Okay.
Too much information for one question, but there you go. By the end of March.
Okay. So next question is from Dave in Chino. He says, the weather has been so fabulous. I want to be outside working in my yard. Is it too early to prune my fruit trees? And second part of his question is it too early to spray the horticultural oil, or should you wait on that?
Yeah, good question. So you can start pruning now. We generally say start at the new year and finish up by the end of March. That's the peak window. But really what it comes down to, when they're finally deciduous, that is, they dropped all their leaves and we've had enough cold spell to kill off the bugs that are roaming around. And I think we've done that. We've had a couple cold snaps where it thinned out the insects. And those are the things that kind of cause disease to spread around. So if you prune it too early, that can happen. I think you're fine. Go for it. And the days are beautiful. So go ahead and prune all of those fruit trees, and then all the remaining energy that's going to come up from the roots back and form this next spring's flower buds and leaf buds. All the remaining energy will be focused in on those remaining bud grafts that are on that structure. So when you're done pruning, so start with deadwood and then focus on the structure, make sure air gets to the inside, do all that stuff that you do with your pruning. But going back to the question, yeah, go for it. Prune it now. I've been doing the same thing. Absolutely. Go for it.
Yeah.
And then finish up by the end of March. Horticultural oil. Yes, you can. I would say generally what we say is finish pruning, then spray the hort oil. And what the horticultural oil does, it's January. You're thinking, there's no bugs out there. And you're right. You're not after the bugs. You're after the eggs they laid a couple months ago. That oil coats the bark area where they've laid all those eggs and suffocates the eggs, basically. And there are bugs there. They're hibernating in between the nooks and crannies, underneath the leaf mold, the mulch at the base. They're there. They just aren't active. They're hibernating like a bear or a squirrel. They're hibernating and waiting to come out when it's warm enough. That hort oil coats them, kills them off. So it just cleans a tree up so that you're starting out the spring season clean. So,
and there's a lot of eggs out there, but I found aphids on some of the.
You're kidding me?
Yeah, because the other day.
Okay, yeah.
So
There.
We've had some warm temps,
Yeah.
and that sun warms everything up, and they go, okay, I'm moving,
Yeah.
I'm active.
Generally, we say prune first just so there's less
Yes.
mass to spray. So it just makes your job easier.
Mhm.
And so the bugs that are there aren't going to do a lot of damage, but aphids on yuccas, you should watch that. They can actually affect that heart, the core of so they can get on yuccas, agaves, some red tip botania. They can get on some of those things. So check those things out. And if you see them, spray them right away. Don't let them stay. Don't wait till you're done pruning. Hit them now, so you just before they do some damage. So anyway, I guess the bugs are out. Those aphids, they like the cold season.
They do.
Great questions this week, folks. So Ken and Lisa Lain, the Mountain Gardeners, be right back after this.
Hi, Lisa here with the plants of the week and our Arizona Gold Euonymus.
An excellent choice for colored hedges and as tough as they come.
This evergreen displays bold gold, head-high foliage that grows even thicker when sheared.
A single shrub makes a bold statement, but in rows they make excellent visual and sound barriers.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love bold gold hedges, they love to shop.
You're listening to Ken Lane, aka the Top 10 Gardener. Ken can be found throughout the week in Prescott at Waters Family Garden Center. Listen daily as he answers the top 10 questions of the week, streaming on Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you download your podcasts. You've tuned in to the Top 10 Garden Show with garden expert Ken Lane. Join the conversation daily as he answers timely garden questions. Email Ken a question directly from your phone to his desktop through the web at watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Or visit face-to-face throughout the week where he can be found at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Now welcome your host, Ken Lane.
When cleaning up your yard. So I've got some roots that are growing almost on top of the ground, or they're running just underneath the soil, or they're a trip hazard. They're in the way. They're taking up parts of my garden that they're taking energy from there I don't want. And so is it safe to cut a major root? This is like 6-7 inches. It's like a branch growing across the ground. It's absorbing water and nutrients from all over the earth and bringing it back to the tree. It's a cottonwood tree. Is it safe to cut that? If you're mowing underneath your mimosa and the mower is like hitting roots, is it safe to cut that out of there? Can you take that one root? Leave the tree, but just take that one root and get rid of it. And so I did cut the root out. I think of roots like that, kind of like a branch up on like the top surface. So the roots underneath the ground have a similar pattern that grow underneath the ground. And so I'm root pruning basically like I would be branch pruning. So it's very safe to go ahead and cut that branch and then dig it out. Basically, I took a Sawzall, pretty much I broke out the power cord, took a foot long blade and just went, because I don't want to dull up my a chainsaw. So I don't want that in the dirt, but the Sawzall, I don't mind as much. It's a cheaper blade, easier to get to. And quite honestly, it goes through that better. So cut it right back. And then I just chipped out or picked out the branch that's going away from the tree. If you're going to try to use a brush and stump killer, this is when it gets particular. You can damage the tree if you're putting a root killer. So if the plant is suckering, so elm tree is notorious for suckering, locust are notorious for suckering. If you just cut the branch, that root would start growing again. And so you have branches coming up, you have new trees coming up all over the place. Even though you severed the root, it's going to sucker on you. So I actually pulled that cottonwood right out of there because I don't want it to be there. Plus it's in the way. I'm tripping over it. I want it gone. So I took the extra time to try to chip it out. Now, if it's a really aggressive tree, it's suckering already, I would dab some brush and stump killer on the on the root that's leading away from the tree. I would never touch the stump where I made the cut that's going towards the tree, because it will affect the mother plant. But once you make the cut, that root going out there into the gardens, I don't want that coming back. I want that thing dead. I want it gone. So I chipped out the biggest portions of it, and I poisoned basically the remaining root, because it's going to want to come up later in spring, and I don't want to work that hard. And so while that cut is still fresh, I'll go ahead and dab almost full strength. You can put some it's called brush and stump killer. It's how you keep the major plants from coming up back at you. That's how you kill off oak trees and elm trees and things that are big, bushy, and they just aggressive. And so it's also very effective on killing off that root that goes away from the mother plant. Again, let me be very clear. Don't put that on the root, on the side of the root you cut, going to the mother plant. The plant will absorb it, and it will affect that mother plant. Will it kill it? I don't know, but it will affect branches next spring. You'll see it. But that's the perfect thing you want, going away from the tree. The rest of that root, I'm taking that thing out of there. The sap was still flowing on this root. And so we've been cold, but not truly cold. And so I think I'll just kill off the rest of that branch. So is it safe to cut a major branch, trunk, root, going to a major tree? And it absolutely is. Just like cutting a branch on the top growth of the tree. It's not going to affect it one bit. So if anything, it might help it grow better, especially if it's in the way, kind of exposed. So get rid of that thing. So thin it out. If you're tripping over it, that root does not deserve to be there. In fact, if there's a lot of roots growing on top of the ground, it's probably a water pattern. You're either got one or two things. You're watering too shallow and not very deep, and so the roots just have to come up for the water, or there's a major rock shelf, a caliche layer, something that's just underneath the roots where it just can't get down in there the way it wants. And so it's up on top of the ground, kind of going, well, I can't grow down. I guess I'll grow out. And so you'll get some roots that kind of come up like that. And it is perfectly okay to prune those things back. It's perfectly okay to poison that root if you don't want it to sucker again, especially those that are aggressively coming up already. You've already got Chinese elms coming up all over the place in the yard. You don't want more. And so if you don't do something about it, it'll just come up with a vengeance next spring. Anyway, that's how you deal with roots growing up in your gardens. And it's okay to do that any time of the year you want, especially in winter now. Be right back after this.
Hi, Waters with this week's Plant of the Week, our True Blue Fat Albert Spruce.
At just 15 feet, this is the ideal evergreen for small gardens, excellent in front yards with limited space.
The color is so blue all year long with the perfect evergreen shape.
Dense, durable, and loves the sun, so it works well as a windbreak, screen, or sound barrier, and only found at
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love the perfect blue spruce love to shop.
Top 10 Gardener, your source for timely garden advice, seasonally correct for the garden, guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season. You've tuned in to the Top 10 Gardener with garden expert Ken Lane. Join him daily as he answers timely garden questions that are sure to make a difference in your gardens. Now welcome your host, Ken Lane.
And we are back with Lisa Lain in the studio. She comes in and just shares this whole segment is just all about Lisa. We need that other side of gardening. So she's a garden extraordinaire, and she just brings her insight. So welcome back to the studio, Lisa.
Thank you. Good to be here.
My holiday buddy.
Yeah.
It's been good.
Just you and me this year.
Well, you, me, and your mom.
And my sister.
And your sisters. It's
But
a smaller,
kids.
no kids. First time since we've been married.
Mhm.
Well, that first year.
Well, first year, yeah.
We were married, we were married
July.
for 6 months. Had our first year solo. Very nice. Remember that? And then we had our kid the next year. So within 12 months, we had our first child, which is great. That's back how we did it back in the 80s. Is that what it was? Oh my gosh.
Late 80s.
There we go. Yeah, that makes us feel younger. So I'm thinking it's more like this is going back to newlywed, like Christmas. What do you think?
Sure.
Without kids.
But we have
I
more
have some big
dogs.
things planned. Well, okay, that's right. So, dogs and granddogs. We're watching a whole bunch of things.
And
So
cats.
and cats.
Yeah.
Okay. Still, I'm thinking newlywed. It just sounds good.
I'm nervous.
I've got some things
I'm
planned.
worried.
Should be fun.
Oh, I'll let you guys know how it all turned out.
Garden tips. What do you got for us this week? What's going on?
Well, this week I really don't have any tips, but I was thinking it's a good time to think about the past year.
Yeah.
It's Christmas. Next week is New Year's, and then we're moving on, right?
Yeah.
To a new year. So it's always good to look back and go, what was great about last year? Because sometimes you feel like it takes forever, and then you turn around and you're like, oh my gosh.
Just like that. Yeah.
It's already the end of 2023.
Yeah.
Who knew that was coming? So I just like to take a look back sometimes and see what was good. So I started with January.
Okay.
So great about January was we focused more on houseplants again, and made that department a little bigger. We're trying to make it better. We're trying to really educate us and our staff so we know how to help you with houseplants. So we just really brought in some good quality houseplants, and we brought in some good quality containers, ceramic pottery to help you decorate your home.
Yeah.
Because, Christmas, we put everything away and then we start going, it's kind of empty around
cavernous.
here.
Yeah.
What can I bring in? So it's always fun to bring and just kind of redo your home, freshen your home. And January is a great time to do that. Get those houseplants in there. Helps with air quality inside your home to have houseplants in there too, since we're all closed up. So that's what's good about January.
Houseplants even brought in some exotics. That was kind of fun.
It was fun.
February.
So February, the great thing for us was our grandson, Benicio Vidal, was born. He was born in February. But February is also just that you're just like getting ready for spring. We are. I know some people probably are not, but we're like, oh my gosh, what trucks are coming? What's going to be on those trucks? Oh my gosh, we got to get ready. So February is that just excitement month. And then this past year, it was really even more exciting because Benicio came.
Yeah. Grandkids are great. That was number 4. And our 4 kids, we actually want more. So we just hint. I like being grandparents.
We do. That's fun. So March we always have our spring open house in March. And this year the weather was beautiful.
Yeah, it was stunning.
We had a great spring open house. And you know what I'm very thankful for is our vendors, the people who grow our plants and trees and shrubs and flowers. They're amazing. They really try, and they do bring us very good, high quality product. And that way we can pass that along to our customers.
I just replaced a fan on the back greenhouse, the biggest greenhouse that we have here. So we got circulation fans. And so one of them went down, and it's been 13 years since I called the manufacturer of that greenhouse. And Clay, he's still there.
Wow.
This industry doesn't change. It's always the same. Say, hey, Clay, oh my gosh, I thought I'd get it. You're someone else. I thought you'd retired. Nope. I'm still here. Say, hey, send me a fan. Within 3 days, had a fan for the greenhouse. Way to go. Great. That's what I love about this. And our growers and our sales reps, they've been there for 20 years because this industry is that kind of industry.
It is. It's a very nice industry to be in. So that was March. April was, at the end of April, we got amazing roses in. And our roses this year were spectacular. And we had a lot of new varieties for people because they're always coming up with new things. We had new stuff. And this year will be the same way. We have our fiber pot roses actually will come in February.
Yeah, I think
it's a dormant rose, but it's fully rooted out, and it's in a fiber pot, so it's very easy to plant. And we have new varieties in that too. So roses are always fun, and we have a great climate for roses.
This is rose. This is a rose. We grow better roses than anywhere else in the country, except maybe California, and even better there, better than Portland. We don't have all those spots and all the issues that they have because we're dry and we're bright. So they love this elevation, but we're not so cold. We got to protect them like crazy in the Midwest. We're just easy. So this is good. A friend of mine, we serve on the Arizona Nursery Association board, Tyler Francis Roses. He actually introduces over 80% of the roses on the planet. He breeds, grafts, creates new colors right there in Casa Grande.
Cool.
And I get to meet with him once a week or once a month, excuse me. Tyler, you are awesome. And he represents us, at the legislature.
Right.
He goes, represents the United States in Europe because he's introducing roses there, but he lives right here. He's an Arizonan.
Wow.
So that's the history Arizona's famous as far as gardening goes, especially roses.
That's true. Okay. So I kind of lumped May, June, and July together because it's just so busy here. It's just
spring.
It's all like one to us because you hit the ground running and you just go. But the thing I love about May, June, and July is just their customers. They come in droves. They're amazing. They're fun. They come to our classes. We do our Saturday classes and they come wanting to learn.
Yeah.
They want to know. And some of them are new in the area, but how great is it that they want to learn how to garden, how to take care of their yard, how to be in their communities, and being out there making everything better. So I think just our customers and our staff in those months, I mean, we rock and roll and we just have some really nice people that we hang with.
We have generations of customers. So this year will be 62 or is it 63? I have to do the math on that. I think it might be 63 years we've been in business. So we're the second generation. Our daughter, Mackenzie, is the third generation. So we've got 3 generations working here at the Garden Center. And we've got 3 generations of customers that have here. Our oldest will turn 100 this year. So still coming in. Once a gardener, always a gardener. Yeah, you bring an assistant, kind of help them out, but they're still gardening. It's amazing. Some of our customers invented, literally created some of the plants and products that we sell. They live right here because they retired here, but it's just amazing, the stories. So that is the fun piece.
So great. I was, we've all been out shopping this week, getting ready for Christmas. And Kinsey and I were in a store, which I won't mention. And one of the employees walked by and she goes, "Why do I work here?" And I went, "Oh." And I'm so thankful I don't have that attitude. And maybe because we just have really great people working with us and for us, and community is amazing.
I had a kid. And I won't say where, because the employer would be mad. But basically, when I find a really good employee, I go, "Hey, listen, if ever you're looking for a new move, you seem to have a good spirit. You seem to really like what you're doing. Come talk to me. We have a garden center down here." And so you find really great employees because this is a great place. We're the place where employees put their roots down. So we won't go down that path very far because we're only into spring.
That's
you
true.
got 2 minutes left.
So August was Dancing for the Stars.
Oh my gosh, you're bringing that up.
It was great.
Yeah, it was fun.
You did such a wonderful job raising money for the community. It was fun watching you dance. It was fun watching customers get excited about what you were doing. And it was a lot of work. And I kudos to you because I know it was a lot.
Dancing for the Stars is the maiden fundraiser for the Boys and Girls Club of Central of this county. And so I agreed, and they have 10 dancers, and I was one of them, and we won the whole gig. So it's 65,000, 67, 68. I've forgotten already how many thousands of dollars for the club is well worth it. And great cause.
So you did good for that.
Thank you.
And then September was our Grapes for Good event that we do here at the store, which was also very successful again. And lots of good money raised for the Rotary, which supports
math and reading clinics, kids, schools. I think they just funded one of the veterans' kitchens or something. So they take that money and reinvest it in our community. So you got 30 seconds.
Okay, I will close it out real quick. So we have October, November, December, which it was just gorgeous here this year. So
that's why we live here.
The weather was amazing. The fall color this year was spectacular. And people came in and celebrated that. So it was fun.
All right. Thank you, Lisa. So the 12 months of this year, the highlights. Thank you so much for being here. Ken and Lisa Lain, the Mountain Gardeners. Be right back after this.
Your yard will turn heads with stunning evergreen shrubs from Waters Garden Center.
Waters grows greener shrubs for year-round interest, as well as blooming shrubs for pops of color in spring.
Attract birds with a tall privacy hedge and the berries that follow.
Plus, winter evergreens are easier to grow than other plants.
No matter your landscape, we have the perfect shrubs for a greener winter.
Visit Waters Garden Center in Prescott or online at watersgardencenter.com.
You're listening to garden expert Ken Lane, owner of Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Look for more tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts through Ken's website, additional shows of this podcast, read his weekly garden column, or follow him on Facebook, Instagram at watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Welcome to the Top 10 Garden Show with Ken Lane. Listen to Ken's tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts guaranteed to make your gardens more beautiful than ever this year. Now welcome your host, Ken Lane.
So we have sold out of Christmas cactus, poinsettias, amaryllis, all those holiday plants. And so there's open benches, there's the inside of the store where all the houseplant tropicals are. It's looking barren. So we've got new houseplants arriving January, I think 2nd or 3rd, the first week in January of the new year. And so I thought I'd go over how to design with houseplants. Your space, when you take that tree out, the holiday plants, you take some of the decor out of there, it's going to feel naked. Like, I wish I had more. I missed that season. Houseplants naturally fill that. And so they're healthier for you. They release oxygen, take dirt out, take all the new benzenes and nasty chemicals that come with all those gifts that came from China or whatever. So maybe that's not quite fair, but there are a lot of things. They preserve these things with anti-inflammatory, all kinds of stuff. Anti-flames, not inflammatory. Anyway, houseplants help you with that. And so there's a real benefit. The general rule is have one 8-inch, now this is the designer thing, have an 8-inch houseplant for a small room, say a bedroom, a dining, a den, an office, and have a larger floor plant size plant. This is a bigger plant for a big living room, family room, theaters, that kind of stuff. So that's a general. You can have more, but generally you need about one per smaller space. That's what does all the good, the oxygen, the cleaning the air, that kind of stuff. And so that'd go over just kind of the top, easiest to grow, not really in order of ease of care or most popular, but these are the most popular ones. And Croton's the number one. So that's Croton's got great big leaf. This plant gets quite large to be a large floor plant or a supersized. It looks really good in a plant stand, larger glazed pot. It's got big leaves and it's bright and shiny. It's got golds and reds and pinks to it. It's got a lot of character to it. Big, it just screams, I'm a tropical and I love growing inside your house. This would be one that's be more for a larger room. So like a living room space, perfect for that. ZZ plants, a ZZ, like Z is in Z, a plant. This is a succulent, basically. We use this one. It's so robust. We use it often in commercial settings. So if you got a law office or just maybe or may not get neglected, you just forgot to water it, a ZZ plant's going to easily thrive in that. So if you just want easy care or you travel, you RV a lot, you got a brand new Class B minivan, you're going to drive RV around the country for this coming spring, ZZ plants are for you. Because when you get back from that month-long road trip, it's still going to be alive. And so ZZs are great. They got this rich green, just rows of rich green glossy leaves. It just screams healthy and they live forever. They're just great, easy to grow plants. Very healthy for you. A money plant. Money plants, they get all the hype. They're pretty, they're braided branches, that kind of stuff, big green leaves. They're a little harder to grow. Now, they're big, tall plants, so frequently too big for a lot of spaces, but it's a good plant. So money plants get, I think, more hype. I think there's better choices possibly. But money plants are on there. Peace lilies, that's when you're going to find a lot coming up in the Easter season. So kind of late winter, early spring, peace plants or peace lilies. Great big supple leaves, very soft. It can get up, pretty easily hip high, but its claim to fame is it's got that big white flower that blooms about when Easter arrives. And that's the name, peace lilies, but very healthy. It provides a lot of oxygen, a lot of benefits for the environment, that room that it's actually in. You'll feel it. You'll feel better about it. And it just likes being touched and talked to. It's one of those kind of plants. And so ferns, all ferns. Now, I'd written an article on the top 10 and maidenhair ferns, but I find any fern does well. And ferns are good in that they're better in the darker rooms, like a bathroom that's north facing. You don't have as many all your windows, you're looking out over the dells to the north. So it doesn't get as much sun in that area. Ferns do fantastic in those kind of areas. They do really well as a tabletop because they're smaller, generally speaking. They can get quite large. You can hang them up in places like a kitchen or something. But generally, when they're slow growing, they're kind of start smaller. But ferns, all your ferns are very, very easy to grow if you don't put too much sun on them. They're not going to like that south-facing window, but any other part of the house, they're going to love that. And they take a lot of humidity. So they're really good in bathrooms, places where there's a lot of moisture that seems to hang out there. They'll actually absorb some of that moisture and dry out the room some. They're going to use it to their benefit. You won't have to water very much because it's always in that bathroom that's being used. So perfect for that. And they're just cute as can be, especially in guest rooms, that kind of stuff. They just scream welcome. I'm glad you're staying with us. So creeping figs. It's kind of, how do you describe a fig? It's got a fig-shaped leaf, so it's more like a size of a silver dollar. They don't even make such a thing, do they anymore? So anyway, it's about the size of a golf ball. How about that? So only flat. And they tend to run and creep. So it's kind of like a pothos. I think that's on the list too, but much smaller leaves. The leaves are half the size, but they're just rich and green and healthy and easy to grow. Great for tabletops, shelves up in the kitchen where you want it to flow down over a shelf or something. Super healthy, super easy to grow. So creeping figs are really good, mainly inside. Some of these can also be outside when it's not freezing. So these are all tropical plants. So they're from the tropical forest. They don't like cold. They like it. If you're comfortable, they're comfortable. But during the summer, you're comfortable all the time. Put them right out there on the back deck, the back patio. They'll thrive out there. They'll probably do even better. Pothos is another one. Pothos, I think, is that introductory houseplant for folks. It's very affordable, grows really fast, and it's just kind of easy to care for, easy to grow. It can get too big, too aggressive sometimes. So it tends to get these big, long tendrils. These are the ones where someone says, "Oh, look, I grew this pothos, this houseplant, and it grew around the room." They just like tacked it up around the room. That's a pothos. I don't let mine grow that way. I tend to cut it back. I don't let those long tendrils go. I want it to get full and plump instead of long and leggy. And just by pruning it every once in a while, it gets thicker and fuller. Or this is where they use those moss poles. They'll actually stick a pole in the pot where the pothos is growing, and they'll tie it to this pole to give it more of an upright, kind of thicker, fuller feel to it. So that's a classic for that one. Philodendron is another one that you could do that with. Philodendron and ivy. Put the moss pole in the middle, but English ivy, and just let it run up that. You can either let it run free over and hang down to things, or you can train it to grow up a moss pole. And we've got some really funky, fun, different poles you can use, not just a stake. It's not just a green, like metal stake. We're talking something more luscious, full, designer-esque for plants. So is this thing, you're going to be living with this for years. You want it to look nice. And so ivies, pothos, philodendrons, these are all these, you can let them grow sideways and down and drape and droops and kind of flow over things, or you can train them to be more upright. Another one, you're going to find a tricky one right now because the days have gotten short. Figs, so ficus trees. So sometimes they come braided, but it's a tree. Typically, they can grow up easily, hip to head high inside. They grow outdoors to full-on trees down in Phoenix. Up here, we use them as houseplants. But right now, you'll notice they're dropping some leaves. And saying, well, what's going on? What am I doing wrong? You're not doing anything wrong. It's all the days have gotten so short. This plant loves the sun. And so the days have gotten so short, it's going, okay, not enough sun to keep me going. They're just crybabies. If the weather changes, they're going to drop leaves. But generally, I don't like ficus as much. I'd rather have a fiddly leaf fig or a corn plant, Dracaena, or because they're less crybaby. They're less whiny like that. But if you got a few leaves dropping, that's fine. Just keep it going. The days will get longer at this point, and it'll get happier. That's it for this segment. The houseplants you can grow for a healthier new year.
Hi, Lisa here with the plants of the week and our Arizona Gold Euonymus.
An excellent choice for colored hedges and as tough as they come.
This evergreen displays bold gold, head-high foliage that grows even thicker when sheared.
A single shrub makes a bold statement, but in rows they make excellent visual and sound barriers.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love bold gold hedges, they love to shop.
You're listening to garden expert Ken Lane. He can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Thanks for tuning in to the Top 10 Garden Show. You've tuned in to the Top 10 Gardener with garden expert Ken Lane. Join him daily as he answers timely garden questions that are sure to make a difference in your gardens. Now welcome your host, Ken Lane.
So I did a little cleanup in my office, and boy, I had some insects in here that I didn't know were living in here. Some spiders, fungus gnats. And so what's happened is the bugs, they're cold. And so they've kind of come indoors. If there's any gap anywhere, they're coming in going, it's warm enough. I'm camping out in here. So in the windowsills and that kind of stuff. So how do you deal with insects without using a bunch of chemicals indoors? Some of our homes are they're so efficient. They're like fresh air just circulates. It doesn't have fresh air. It just circulates inside round and round. And so you really want to be careful what you're using and how you're using bug killers inside the house. And so a couple things I tend to think about. So spiders are easy. Take the vacuum them up, and they're gone. Second they hit that vacuum, life sucked right out of them. And then I get rid of the webs and everything else. So they're pretty easy, although one was crawling across the floor. I'm going, what am I doing there? Step on him. The fungus, the flying things, fungus gnats. There's a little tiny gnat flying around, and they like to live on or in or around your houseplants. They actually live in the dirt of your houseplants. And so they're hard to find. You see them flying around the house. They're attracted to your iPad, your screens, the TVs, the windowsills. They're attracted to light. And so they're coming, they get in your face and kind of, come on, get out of here. And usually it's onesie twosies. It's not like swarms. It's onesie twosies flying around. And so those are more difficult to deal with. The easiest way, the most organic way, is with sticky traps. They actually make basically a yellow sheet of paper. It's a little fancier than that, but it's a yellow sheet of paper with some sticky stuff on it, and it's on a popsicle stick. And you just kind of stick it in the soil. And when these flies come up out of the ground, so they live in a maggot stage or a worm stage most of their life, they come up, emerge out of the soil, they start flying around to do one thing, to lay more eggs, find a mate, kind of keep the thing going, and they're attracted to light. So they come up and they go, oh, look, go to the pretty light, the yellow trap, and you'll just see little tiny gnats stuck on this yellow piece of paper. It's highly effective. Unfortunately, it doesn't get to the real problem. You got maggots in your soil. That's no good. So we really need to treat the soil to keep the bugs out of the ground. And so they stop flying up at it. We can break the cycle. That it will mitigate them laying some eggs, keeps them out of your face when you're reading your newspaper in the morning with the iPad. But just get rid of the maggots. And so there's a granular, you sprinkle this systemic bug killer base called systemic insecticide, sprinkle on there, water it in, and it goes right to the soil layers and takes out the insects, larva stage and all, at all stages, takes them right out. And it protects your plant for several months thereafter. It keeps them out of the soil, And then it also protects if there's aphids or woolly apple aphids or other things, mealy bugs that can come up on that plant. It inoculates that plant so they don't come back at you either. So there's a twofold benefit. Gets rid of the fungus gnats right now. So that I've treated my houseplants in my office with this systemic granule. Just kind of sprinkle it on, watered it in, closed the door, came back that evening and says, all is well. All is, they were all gone. So I'll probably stick a few sticky traps tonight when I go home, just to kind of make sure they don't come back. It's almost a monitoring system. So I know they're not there. That's how you take care of bugs safely. And if you need more help, come see us at the garden. This is what we do for a living. Be glad to walk you through it and keep it perfectly safe. Throughout the week, Lisa and I camp out here at Waters Garden Center. We love talking to fans of the show.
Hi, Waters with this week's plant of the week, our True Blue Fat Albert spruce.
At just 15 feet, this is the ideal evergreen for small gardens, excellent in front yards with limited space.
The color is so blue all year long with the perfect evergreen shape.
Dense, durable, and loves the sun, so it works well as a windbreak, screen, or sound barrier, and only found at
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love the perfect blue spruce love to shop.
If you want a more fruitful garden, increased success in landscape that just feels better, then tune in daily to the Top 10 Garden Podcast. Years of tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts are guaranteed to make your gardens nicer than ever. Listen to this podcast or read Ken's weekly garden column by visiting watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Thanks for tuning in.